I'm here today with Todd Fleming, a Financial Favor podcast.
So weird. You're so weird.
And Nick Teeple of Paxton Grounds. Nick.
LLC.
Paxton. What'd you say?
LLC.
LLC.
Okay, why I'm actually excited about this, first of all, I really like having guests on here. But two, you're young, you're successful already, so I want to talk about a whole mess of things. But first I want you to introduce who you are and what you do, and then we'll go deeper into it after that.
Yeah, so I'm Nick Teeple. I run my own lawn landscape business. I started it when I was like, I don't know, 10 or 11 years old
And you're only 16 now, right?
Oh yeah, no, I'm 19.
Almost 20.
Yeah, almost 20.
So you're 19.
I'm not outnumbered today. I'm not outnumbered today. Oh my goodness, whenever we have a guest, they're like 45.
Every single guest.
I'm only 1 year older than, I'm actually not the youngest. You're the youngest.
Yeah.
I'm the youngin'.
You're the baby.
My birthday was last week. Everyone tell me happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
No, okay.
Everybody celebrate.
Just see it in the comments.
Where were you going?
Just,
It's all happy birthday, Aisley, over
no,
and
we're
over
gonna
again.
celebrate. Okay, so yeah, you're 19 now. You started when you're 16. Okay, but go ahead from there.
Yeah, so I've been doing it for a couple years now officially, like with license and insurance and everything. And I didn't really think of it as a business until I would say like 2 or 3 years ago. Before it was just like funding my RC truck hobby and just paying for food with girls and all that.
Here we go. The good stuff. We're getting to the good stuff. Yeah.
But then I found like my love. Like I'm like, okay, if I buy a $10,000 mower, this mower can make me 80, 90, 100 grand. And I started like seeing the compound effect. Like, okay, if I buy this and invest in this, it's gonna make me this money. And I started to think of it a little bit more as a business. And I started to run the numbers more as a business. And I eventually this year, I was super stubborn with hiring someone. And actually Nolan, our producer,
Our highly paid producer.
yeah,
He makes so much money.
Pointed someone in my direction. And I hired someone this year, and it opened up my eyes to like so much opportunity as far as revenue goes and just not killing my body anymore. Because my field that I'm in, like it's
Everybody just laughed. Everybody just went, he's 19 killing his body.
yeah.
Ask Todd what experience he has with mowing lawns. Go ahead and I'll let him ask you. Go ahead and ask him.
What experience do you have with mowing lawns?
I've never mowed a lawn in my life.
Wow.
Not a single time. We're gonna get into that though. I want to get into that. I'm blown away by something. At the age of 16, you had a thought of, if I buy a mower, the upfront cost is 10 grand. The investment is 10 grand. You're already thinking as an investment. My upfront investment is 10 grand. My ROI could be 10x. Could make 90, 100 grand.
Yeah.
Who the hell taught you that? Because that is not normal thinking.
No. I can attribute it to two people. For one, my dad.
Okay.
There's a lot of things I don't agree with him on. I wouldn't say he's college oriented because he by no means, he's like, hey, I understand college isn't for everyone. He didn't give me that option. He was like, hey, if you don't want to go, you don't have to go. But he also has a lot of principles in place that he learned the hard way through credit card debt and lots of other issues that he just learned the hard way. And he implemented those principles and guided me, telling me to watch Robert Kiyosaki videos and Dave Ramsey videos and Grant Cardone videos and all these different people that have good advice. And I took it with a grain of salt by any means, but that was a good first push in my middle school years. And then more in high school when I started to think about the business things and I got in the rabbit hole of YouTube, which no one gives YouTube enough props. Like the amount of free content out there that you can just, it's a whole college degree.
The YouTube, so my degree's on the wall and I've probably learned more from YouTube. There should be a YouTube university.
My entire career, my entire skill set is based off of YouTube.
That's amazing. Yeah, because you started off.
I didn't learn a single thing in college, or from a person about photography.
And you just got your degree like an hour and a half ago.
I graduated 2 months ago.
Yeah. So yeah, because you started off really enjoying like travel vlogs.
Yeah, I wanted to be a vlogger or a YouTuber at first, and I got into cameras. But all of that was from YouTube. I didn't learn a single thing from there was no mentor in my life or anything like that. My entire business is built off of YouTube.
That's wild. So your dad actually introduced you to a growth mindset.
He did.
Like,
And then
is that like the basis principle that we could probably go off there? Is like he introduced you to a growth mindset.
yeah, and then I would say the next big guy, I actually just got done with a podcast here a couple weeks ago. His name's Brian Fullerton.
Okay.
And he runs like a small business per se. They do like $400,000 a year in revenue.
Okay.
Just
That's small business.
2-3 guys.
Yeah.
But his mindset on things like
Small business, by the way, like statistically, is up to like 50 million a year in annual revenue.
Really?
Yeah.
that's quite high.
Yeah.
I'm like a micro business.
Yeah. No, small business is much
Okay.
larger than you recognize.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's statistically. So like, however you want to treat it, you know what I mean? But like, that's like when they talk about like small, medium, large, and
Yeah.
I think of
so
the
on.
feel you get as
Exactly.
like
I would agree.
customer or whatever.
Yeah.
But I have no doubt that he's going to be at 1 mil, 2 million, 3 million the next couple years just because
what
of
does he
his
do?
mindset. Same thing I do.
Okay, landscaping?
Yeah, and
Okay.
a lot of landscapers shift into the landscaping side of things, not just the mowing. But
Yeah.
he primarily is mowing. He makes a lot of money in snow, I'll tell you that. But they primarily, like, majority of their days are spent mowing lawns. So it's kind of the route that I want to take as well. I mean, a lot of people switch over to landscaping because of the higher hourly rates, but
Yeah.
I enjoy mowing. So
I've experienced that. I've experienced higher hourly rates when
Yeah.
it comes to landscaping than mowing. It's true. The bill that I get.
I bet.
So your dad introduces you to a growth mindset. How much of a factor do you think that's played in your life since that moment? Because we're talking about, let me give you a little background on me, just to like paint that picture.
Yeah.
So I didn't have my first job until I was 24 because I was trying to play professional baseball, right? So I didn't have my first job till I was 24, maybe going on 25, or maybe a little bit sooner than that. It gets a little gray in there because that's like a painful time in life. Like baseball is over, I have to figure out what I'm going to do with my life, and then I tried a number of different things. But at some point, somewhere in there, I adopted a growth mindset, and I would say that that's the single most influential factor in my success is understanding that if I practice well, I can get better at something and my skills aren't fixed and I get paid by my skills. So I have the ability to get paid more and more and more and more and get better and better and better at what I do. And therefore I have more and more potential. Like my potential became unlimited. Is that something similar to kind of the way that you feel and think now? Because the people around you, especially at your age, I would be shocked, with the exception of your best friend.
Yeah.
Because he's sitting next to us. I would be shocked if anybody else thinks like you. Because I talked to her about this with her friends, and it's like a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
It's not even in the same stadium, let alone on the same field.
Yeah, and I would say even Noel and I, there's a lot of things we don't agree on.
Yeah.
But I would say the majority, including him, who I surround myself with, have that growth mindset. And a lot of my friends, they're my friends because I want to surround myself with people that I want to be in the position that they're in the future.
Yeah.
So if they're growing, I want to be growing as well. But my dad definitely was the one that started that, and you can see it in his friends too.
Yeah, tip of the cap to Dad on that one.
Yeah.
For sure. I give him a lot of props for that. All right, dude, that's amazing. Like I give you a lot of respect for that. I have a lot of respect for that because that's not easy to do because, again, I was 23, 24 before, and let's start getting into money, the exciting piece. You made, how much are you on pace to make how much this year?
Just over 100,000 in revenue.
How much you make last year?
I don't even think I really tracked it last year.
Didn't even keep track of it. Okay.
Yeah.
So look at the progress in that even. So you're going to be 19, 6 figures. I'm trying to think of the first time I made 6 figures.
Now,
I'll
personally,
tell you when it was for me.
Yeah, you don't say. Please go tell us.
Last year.
that's awesome.
Yes, I mean you guys same age essentially.
We kind of went through the
doing
same
that.
thing where like the year before I didn't track mine either.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and the reason why I tracked it, very similar situation to you, is because I'm looking into buying a house, and my goal this year was to save up $30,000 for a down payment on a house.
Yeah.
And as of this past month, I learned to pay myself before I pay anything else. So
Yeah.
I take a owner's withdrawal every month, and it essentially comes out to 50 grand a year, but it's just over $4,000 a month.
It's amazing.
And I slowly have saved up, and as of last month, I got that officially saved up. But like Aisley, I want to buy a house here, in the next couple months, maybe year or so. And I need that proof of income. And especially I've never had a credit card or anything. So I'm going the manual underwriting route.
Yeah.
Or we're going to try and figure out some other ways too.
There's character-based loans. There's a number of ways that you can go about it. Now, everybody watching a short-form clip might tell you, you can't do anything without a credit card. But that is just due to ignorance, not due to actual practice. So
I'll make sure to cut this up for short form. And then in 6 months, when you buy a house without having a credit card still, we can have you come on and be like, hey, guys.
Bought a house without a credit card.
I bought a house and I've never had a credit card. There was a video that just blew up in the comment section. It has it's only like 12K on Instagram right now, but on Facebook, it's got 910K views and 12,000 comments of people are yelling at Todd for saying you don't need a credit card to be successful.
Yeah, because you don't.
I'm not trying to be offensive or anything, but I mean, if you don't have the money, you don't have the money. Like, why would you borrow? I mean, that's just my thoughts.
So before you didn't know this, but before filming this episode, we just filmed an episode about the national debt and the mindset behind borrowing to pay for minimum payments and the spiral or cycle of danger that is. So to your point and your mindset and the way that you're talking right now with, well, if I don't have the money, right? And if I don't see a direct path of it being an asset, because, maybe you didn't have the money for the mower either, but you could have borrowed 10 grand for the mower, but
it's going to make me money.
But it ends up making you money. It has a direct plan to become profitable for you. Credit card 9 times out of 10 does not have that. Especially with most people. Most people are just going to, it feels like a gift card to them. I'm one of those people.
Gets Aisley her free flights.
It does. It does.
They can absolutely be beneficial if you handle them correctly. The problem is 99% of the population doesn't handle them correctly, so it just becomes financially crippling for them. So I have to take a stand on one side or the other, right? Yeah. So if I'm teaching people finances and financial literacy and education, I can't say, well, credit cards are good, but then have 99% of the people fail with them. I have to pick a majority on that one.
Well, also what people don't realize who are commenting things like that is that you're not saying people are irresponsible, credit cards are dumb, while you are where you're at. When he was in college, he maxed out 3 credit cards.
Yeah, I was crippled by
yeah,
debt.
he went through it. That's
gosh.
why he says this. He's one of the people. He doesn't have credit cards because he doesn't trust himself with them.
Yeah, I started my journey. I got to a point where I had to make 6 figures a year to make the minimum payments on my cards.
Oh my goodness.
That's how I started my business. That's where I started.
Wow.
So that's why I know where credit cards can get you. And then most people are saying well, you just file bankruptcy. That doesn't solve the problem. The root problem is internal and mental at that point. It's not the card's fault.
Dang,
right?
how'd you climb out of that?
Just
grinding it out.
Yeah. I made a decision. I had 2 paths in front of me. I had one that was far easier, which was claim bankruptcy and start over. And the other one was learn about money, learn how money works, and learn how I can get better with it and how I can maximize it. Now, this path sucked.
Yeah.
And this one was easy.
It left him homeless for a few years.
Just fighting to be able to pay rent and not knowing where rent or lunch was coming from. I lived that life for a few years. But what I learned in that was so valuable because that's where my basis and my foundation comes from today. So I learned how to solve essentially, a $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 debt problem, right? Today, I can solve $1 million debt problems in a few hours because I've been able to raise my financial literacy to that point and my education to that point. So I have some clients and friends that solved a $50,000 problem in 15 minutes yesterday. And I explained to them, isn't it cool to be able to understand that you can solve a $50,000 problem in 15 minutes now by understanding how money really works? So once you get better at it, and the only way I got better at it, if I bailed and I filed bankruptcy or claimed bankruptcy when I was just starting and I was in a difficult spot, we're not here today.
No.
We're not talking. We're not sitting in a property like this. We're not talking about numbers. We're not talking about business. We're not talking about growth mindset because I had a get out of jail free card. I probably would have just done it again.
That's what I was about to say.
Because
you would have
shift your
learned
mindset.
nothing.
There was no mindset shift because there was no pain. Right? So that's another reason I don't like credit cards is because you can go swipe that bad boy and there's no feeling of pain from loss. If you go pull out $100 out of your wallet and go hand it to somebody to pay for something, there's a feeling of loss.
Exactly.
There's an actual chemical correlation between you spending money and what you're receiving.
Makes my stomach hurt even thinking about it.
Yeah. So you because you're aware. The credit card allows you to not be aware. So that's why I don't love them. So I like that you said that. Like if you want to have one, you have one, but you just understand how to use them properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even like my shop rent that I store like my trucks and trailers and mowers in and stuff, I got an insane deal on it for what it is. It's only $200 a month, but
nice.
Heck, even like their billing system's horrible. Like I have to go to his facility. He has like a eye care facility.
Yeah.
And I go and drop off either cash or check, but I always just go to the bank and get cash. And like it's not the best billing system, obviously, but man, it's only $200, but that $200 hurts handing it to him every single month. Like it's like, wow, like what I could buy with $200. Like,
you're understanding the power of that money. So another thing that's interesting to me in this is because you started off with, okay, I could buy a mower for 10 grand. It could become 100 grand. Then you start talking about the compound effect. You're understanding that if that $200 leaves, or when that $200 leaves, it's essentially 100% interest. You have to go re-earn it. You have to go trade your time for that again. So the question becomes, how can I make that $200 free? How can I make that $200 show up every single month without me having to work for it? And then you're not going to lose the compounding on it.
Yeah.
And that's the type of question that you can start asking yourself in a situation like that.
That's a tricky spot I'm in right now because every dollar I'm making is my time. It's whether it's a minute or whether it's hours or days or weeks. Yeah. It's still my time. So I'm trying to implement systems into place in my company. So when I hire more guys, they can come in, they know what they're doing. And then I'm not the one having to be generating the money. I'm the one building the, not mindset, but building the, like where the company wants to go. Like I'm the dreamer, like I'm the entrepreneur. So, but if I'm not doing the job of an entrepreneur, then my time is being wasted.
You're starting to understand the difference between working on a business and working in it.
Yes.
And you're starting to understand that if I'm the vision, I have to communicate and portray and manage that vision to others.
Yes.
Which is not an easy thing to do.
From what I know from Nolan, you're kind of the same way as I am, though, when you're struggling with it, because I struggle. So I am to the point where I need to expand my team. I need to step away from things, but it's like this little baby that I raised, and I'm like, I can't give up parts of it. It actually causes me physical pain to like let somebody else do the part of the job.
When you want it done your way.
Yes, because especially, I mean, like mowing a lawn, like we were talking about it the one night, and you're like, it's not as easy as it looks. It's actually a skill.
Yeah.
And like people don't do it the same.
You can miss a chunk of grass.
Yes, and like, you would see it and it would bother you because nobody's going to be as like articulate as you are in your own business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're talking about vision. What is your vision for the business then?
Well, like I said before, I kind of want to stick with the mowing and stuff. There's a company out there in, I believe they're in Iowa or something. But it's called Perfy Cut, and Corey Ballard, he was the owner of it. He just sold it. But they're mainly they do some hardscapes and stuff on the side, but they're mainly like mowing and snow plowing and everything. And that's the route I want to take it. But I would love to see, I would say 10 trucks, 20 guys. My passion is in snow. That's where I want to grow. And last year was my first year doing snow.
Yeah.
And this year we're going to double in snow. And next year I hope to even triple from this year in snow.
Yeah.
So that's where I want to take it. But like I'm in the weird spot now where we were talking about debt a little bit ago, where I've got it's a okay truck. Like it works.
Yeah.
It's not breaking down every day, but I would like to have a nicer truck. So in the winter when we're plowing snow, we're not having to work on things in the cold and everything.
Yeah.
And like that mower, when I first bought it, I didn't have a mower. So I knew it was going to initially make me money. I've got a truck that's making me money right now, but it's like if I go out and buy a truck that, let's say a $60,000 truck where I'm driving a $10,000 truck, like, is it really going to make me that much more money having a $60,000 truck than a $10,000 truck?
Probably not. It'll probably just feel better.
Yeah.
If it just feel good for a little bit. So you're doing something very interesting, which I don't know if you're even aware of it, is you are investing more in your education than in your status or your like well-knownness or like the feeling of like your accomplishment. Did you know that? Were you aware of that?
I mean, now that you say that, I can think of that because yes, I would like the truck, but when
It's the
I'm
number
looking
one
at the,
reason, absolutely one of the top reasons why anybody below the age of 30 is financially struggling is because they're trying to make it today, like make it look like they've made it today instead of just eating it for a while and understanding that you're going to grow into something.
I'm going to make the comments hate me here for a second, but it made me think of a Dave Ramsey quote. But it's buying things that with money you don't have to impress people that you don't know.
Yeah.
Like
That for people that don't care too.
Yeah, for people that don't even care.
Yeah.
And that's why I was thinking like,
I am a Dave fan, by the way. There we go. Now I can make everybody hate me. I am a Dave fan. Dave's never been wrong.
Okay.
Now, what's funny about that is we have differing strategies and differing opinions on 100 different things.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
him and I. But he's never been wrong because he understands his audience. His audience does not have a plan. He's telling them they have a plan, so therefore he's never wrong.
Yeah.
That's the way that I sum that up for people when it comes to Dave. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, will this truck really make me the extra money? Although I'd love to be driving a nicer truck. But now it's getting to the point where like I could open up my spreadsheet right now and we see exactly how much I've spent on expenses and repairs this year just in that truck alone.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, now it's starting to become where it's getting a little bit closer in price where I'm going to spend about the same.
Yeah.
And more or less it's my time also. If I'm spending 3 hours during a snowstorm fixing my truck, that's thousands of dollars right there that I'm missing out on.
Yeah, I was about to say that's 3 hours. That's 3 hours lost, compounded over however many days or weeks that you could be out there with
exactly.
it.
And I mean, for snow, we're billing out $250 an hour. So it's like,
Yeah, that's incredible.
It's cool when you start to realize that like you're trading your time for money, and like it's not that as you get like the longer you go, like it's not that you get more impatient, but you just have like a shorter fuse for like inconveniences, especially when your time is money.
Yeah.
So like I just went through the same thing where like my laptop was taking so long to export photos. I got so mad. I just got on Best Buy and ordered a new one. Like, I'm not saying you're going to get more impatient, but like, you're going to start realizing that more. You're like, this is my time. And like spending 3 hours in a snowstorm is just unacceptable.
yeah, especially in the cold when
Yeah.
like, that's
It just sucks.
Yeah,
misery.
it sucks.
There's no other way to put it.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah.
So you're forecasting already at this point too, because there's a difference between budgeting and forecasting.
Oh, yeah,
So most
absolutely.
people try to budget when in reality they should be. America should budget.
America needs a budget.
America needs a budget. America needs a hard budget. And it needs to be
Stick
lowered.
to a budget.
Yeah, it needs to be lowered. But yeah, most people, they get caught in, trying to budget everything in their life instead of forecasting. You're more so forecasting at this point that I want to make sure that the money that's being allocated out or the capital that's being allocated out has the opportunity to come back to me in some shape, way, or form.
Yeah.
Like that's a good mindset to have.
Before we started, he was talking about forecasting. When you said how you price your lawns,
Mm-hmm.
you were forecasting the money that you need to have your lifestyle.
Yeah.
You're forecasting.
it's all a business is working backward through processes and understanding. Like, it's a simple math problem. Business is so much simpler than people take it to be. Yes, it's hard.
I don't disagree with that. I would say most people overcomplicate it. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
he always says it's easier to be rich than it is to be poor.
It's so much
Yeah.
easier to be rich than it is to be poor. Because I've been both.
I'm not rich, but
It's so much.
I bet.
It's so much easier to be rich than poor. I've been both.
No, but you're top 1% for your age.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you are.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I was just there. I was 20
Yeah.
and I made six figures and I was
you
top
19 or
1%.
are you
You're
19 or
19, so you're
19?
probably
Okay.
more than
I'll
I'm
be 20
21
here
now.
in, I don't even know, like 20 days or
An
something.
hour and a half. All right.
So like this year you'll be 20 and you made six figures. So you're top 1%.
I never thought about it that way. I always compare top 1% for like
For your age.
the world value, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking world value, it's like what 470 or something right now,
Yeah.
470,000 or something like that. Put you in the top 1%. Top 1%. 1%'s
yeah, not there yet. But
millions. I can't remember exactly what it is, but okay. So where were you at before here?
I was at school.
Why?
I know.
Homie,
Well,
you already making more than your teachers.
I know. And I was going to talk about that because,
If you're making more than the people teaching you,
yeah, and a lot of their wisdom is, I have better wisdom than them as well. But like, I'm similar boat to Aisley, but I came into college with a lot of credits. I mean, I'm going to finish up here this spring. And
you guys both graduated an hour and a half too.
yeah.
Yeah.
But my parents are paying for half of it as long as I continue to do my chores around the house. And I just don't want to let all that work from high school just go to waste. So I'm going to at least get what I've been working for, and then I will decide if I need to move on. But obviously, with the way things are going, I won't need to. But
yeah, so it's more of a practice of grit. Would you call it that?
yeah,
Like
and
that
I mean,
was-
even today at school, I'm about stood up and walked out of the room and dropped it right there.
Wow.
I'm like, I was that close. I'm not that bold of a person, but if my personality was slightly different, I would have stood up and walked right out.
I didn't realize how similar we were because I did 2 years of college when I was in high school, and then I just graduated.
Like this past year?
Yeah, this
Couple
like
months ago.
a couple months ago over the summer I graduated, and I would come to him after class every day and be like, "Here's what we talked about today. Let me tell you what that means to me. Nothing. Let me tell you what I've retained in this entire college degree. Nothing. Let me tell you what I paid for it." And then I would say the number, and he's like. It was an ongoing conversation. So it's really funny that because you're getting the question right now. He's going to ask you, why are you in college? Like he just asked you that. I would get that everywhere I went for the entire 2 years that I was out of high school and college.
That's a good thing though, and it's reaffirming. I mean,
Yeah.
even today, I was so frustrated because my professor called me out. I have this little Apple Watch in my hand, and I'm sitting there in class under the table. On what app? My calculator. Why am I on my calculator? I'm running numbers. I'm like, okay, if we have an average of, let's say, 42 inches of snow per year, and each snowstorm averages out to like 3 inches of snowstorm, that's 15 snowstorms. So if I'm out there for 10 hours times 15 snowstorms, and I'm billing out at $250 an hour, that's $25,000 or $27,000 a truck. If I have 3 trucks, that's this much. And I'm literally, my mind's insane. I wish someone could like take a picture of the inside of my mind. And my professor's like, stop texting people on your watch. I'm like, oh, if only you knew. If only you knew.
Look, dirtbag. I have calculator brain happening.
I'll give
right
you
now.
a job.
Yeah, you looking for something to do in the winter?
I'm sorry, we're talking numbers, and in case the viewers haven't noticed, I have this little laptop in front of me. I became the fact checker of the podcast, and Nolan yelled at me from across the room and was like, "Check the facts." When so I have to fact check. Top 1% of earners is 819,000.
It's bumped all the way there.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay, 800.
Top 10% is 167.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
But-
top 1% is all the way up to 800K.
That's for all ages. Yeah, but it's
All
800K
ages, yeah.
for all ages. Yeah. Sorry, I had to fact check that. 'Cause
No,
that's
that's-
literally my job, and this would be useless if I
That's
didn't
a
use
good.
it.
That's a good fact check. I didn't know it had bumped that much because it had been between 400 and 500 for years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I guess the way inflation. I mean, if you look at inflation and you look at the past couple of years, if you look at the past 36 months, I mean everything has doubled. So
Age 20 to 24, it's 150 now.
wow,
Last
so
time
you
I
got-
checked, it was 100.
Yeah. See. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
going to say
so
it
it
jumped
did
a
go
lot
up.
recently.
Yeah.
So this next year, if you base it off my revenue of my company, we'll be in the top 100%. But based off what I'm paying myself, I won't be.
Yeah, I think that's.
But-
Is that based off revenue or like self pay? It's not going to.
It says how much income do you need to be rich?
Well, 9-to-5ers are probably included
Yeah,
in that. So
yeah.
it's probably just your salary.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about you paying yourself first. First
Yeah.
of all, atta babe, atta boy. You're gonna keep doing that because
I
it's
like
gonna create a lot of good for you. But you said you want to buy a house. Well, what if interest rates are at 9%?
I'm still going to buy it. Refinance.
Did you watch our episode?
You know what? Actually, that's funny. I didn't realize that you watched the episode. You've been watching from like the very beginning.
I had been before I even knew of Aisley.
We met each other.
That's
Nolan
incredible.
introduced us, and Nick was like, "Hey, wait."
Well,
That's amazing.
my girlfriend, she lives in a similar town to Aisley, and she kind of knew of her because of her photography and her social media and stuff.
You're so
and
popular.
and when I started talking, like, no one's got this new girl, like, and I said her name, and she's like, oh, I know her and stuff. And like, I was like, yeah, I don't recognize the name or anything. But then
Way to humble
I
me.
finally-
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
I put together 2 and 2, like after.
That's incredible.
After
He was
I
like,
heard
"That's
about
probably
the
the
podcast.
dumb blonde on the podcast that never knows what he's talking about."
I got a lot of time on mowers to listen to podcasts. So, I mean, I got 10 hours a day.
You got a lot of
filling-
learning to do.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. So you started paying yourself first. You want to buy a house. The vision is 10 trucks, 20 guys.
Right now. I'd
Yeah.
love it to be a bigger vision, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's baby steps, a step at a time. So,
Yeah, you develop purpose and vision. Most people are like, "Oh, I want to work on my I want to find my purpose." You don't find it.
You build it.
You build it. You develop it over time. That's one of the more difficult things that that people have to recognize over time, because a lot of people go from one thing to the next thing to the next thing to the next thing. This wasn't for me. This wasn't for me. This wasn't for me. But they've never actually stayed in one spot long enough to become an expert at it, or to become skilled enough at it to actually recognize if it's for them or not. So one of the things that I see a lot is if you see somebody educating people on real estate, and then they move to e-com, and then they move to AI, and then they, like, whatever the hot thing is, that's what they move to it. Like, they're never in one space long enough to go through a difficult time, or to go through a period of time in which it's a struggle, and you have to learn different avenues, and you have to get better at it to survive. And then you become truly good at something. So when you're mowing, like, have you been through a difficult enough time yet, in your opinion? Like, do you think you've been through, that dip yet, where you're like, you know what, everything's smooth and in rhythm right now? Have you been through a time that, you were going, I don't know if I'm going to have a check next week?
That's a good question. Not necessarily. There's by means days that I'm like, man, I'm done with this. I'm going to go get a job tomorrow. Like, I'm done. Like, just because of annoyances, trucks breaking down, employees sinking mowers in creeks.
How much did that cost you?
Let's derail to that story really quick. Yeah.
That one, it was a couple days on the job, and it was early in the spring, and there was a river, the Tuscarawas River goes through the back of this customer's yard, and we just trimmed down along the river, so we got it down to match the normal grass height.
Yeah.
And there was a bed, right, like a flower bed, right down by the creek. And my employee's first couple days on the job, I should have warned him, and I see him walking up the hill, and I'm like, oh no, there can only be one reason he's walking up. So
he's walking up and not riding up.
Yeah, exactly. And so, long story short, he ended up going around that bed, and it was still a little dewy in the morning, and he slid right in. Luckily, the whole mower didn't go under.
Yeah.
And I'm a man of faith, and there's this guy driving a tractor down the field in the back, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a godsend. But
thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah.
And it happened to work out where that shop rent, I had $200 bills in my pocket to pay because my shop rent was due.
Yeah.
And I took one of those $100, and I was like, hey, if you can pull this tractor out because I tried pulling it out with my truck, I tried pulling out with another mower, I could not get this thing out. And he had this big Kubota tractor. I'm like, I'll give you $100 if you can pull this thing out. So,
and you survived.
Yeah. But back to your main point about hardships and stuff. I mean, I've had several stories I could go on and on about, just like that mower. But I would say financially, yes, there has been a struggle at times, especially in the spring when everyone wants their mulch done.
Yeah.
I have to pay for the mulch before I'm getting paid. And if it's net, the invoice is net 30, and I'm doing 30 grand in mulch in a month.
Yeah.
That's a lot of cost in mulch that I haven't even got paid for.
Yep.
So, and on top of that, payroll and usually insurance is due then too, and the gas and new equipment and everything. It feels like everything's due then.
Yeah, everything culminates at once. I mean, that's a good lesson in cash flow too.
Yeah.
Like that's actually an exact reason. Let's say you don't pay yourself first. That's a really good way to go back to zero overnight.
Yeah.
And then what if you have two people that are late? And then what if you have two people change their mind? Like, that compounds really quickly. It's
Very
like
quickly.
That goes all the way back to principle one. So like the three, Aisley, what are the three most important financial principles in order?
Pay yourself first.
Very good.
True value. Understand true value.
Okay.
And I always forget the last one.
Understand true value is actually number three.
What's the second one then?
Get bad debt
Get
on a plan.
debt.
Get
Yes,
debt on a plan.
bad debt on a plan.
It's really get debt on a plan.
But I
yeah.
don't have debt, so
I just
let's
skip that
excuse
one?
me from that one.
Yeah.
Let me skip that one.
I skipped that one. That's cool.
Yeah, me
That's
too.
fair. Yeah. So, yeah, it's really cool that you're clearly practicing, those principles, and that's why you see your vision growing. You can see your vision growing because you're clear on what you're actually doing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, Todd, I got a question for you. So you were talking about the people jumping from like e-com to real estate to what
to
whatnot.
AI to crypto to like whatever's hot.
So would you say, I mean, I'm asking you because success is relative, but you seem to be successful in what you're doing. People that have been successful are consistent. Would you agree with that?
It's so if someone is successful by any shape, mean, or measure, it's due to two things: focus and consistency. Those are the two big ones, because a lot of people can't focus long enough to complete a single task, let alone work an entire day.
Or become the best at something.
Or become the best at something. Exactly. So focus and then consistency is just a measure of, I'm going to do what's necessary. I'm not going to do it when I feel good. I'm not going to just do it when I feel like I should be doing it. I'm going to do it consistently. I'm going to do it and show up, and I'm going to do what's necessary to get me to where my vision wants me to be. So yeah, without question. Without question. So in going and that happened, that's a good testament to, if you hop around a lot, right, due to lack of vision, lack of consistency, lack of grit, all that does is re-solidify you in starting over. So you'll see a lot of people get to a certain point. So let's say, okay, so you're at 6 figures right now, which is still bananas to me. But so you're at 6 figures right now. Let's say you get to 250, right?
That's planned for next year.
And so just to give you a heads up, like things get hard. Things don't necessarily get easier when you make more. You get to see who's real when you start making actual money. Everybody's together in the beginning when nobody's making any money, because everybody has the same core belief, and everybody's hungry. It's when everybody actually starts making good money, you start seeing people not show up anymore, right? So if you get to let's just say you get to 250, you're going to have different challenges than you do today.
Yeah, absolutely. Employee based or whatnot.
It's good. Well, you're going to start to recognize that you won't get to the next level unless you learn how to run the business as opposed to work in it, because you're always going to be limited by the 24 hours, just like anybody else. So why can one person make $1 billion, one make 10 grand, and they have the same 24 hours in a day? One understands building, and the other one understands trading time for money and working.
And I think you said this one time, but what got you here won't get you there.
Without question.
Like what got you to this point in building your business, fitness or whatever, won't get you to where you want to go or your vision.
Exactly. And that's why if you hop around too much, you never actually get to learn that skill. So you'll see a lot of people get to 100 grand or 200 grand and hit a ceiling. And instead of learning how to break through that ceiling and build through it, they start something new. They're like, oh, if I keep this at 200 and then get this 200, I'll get to 400. But that's not how it works. They'll get to that 200, start a new thing. This will dip to 70, and then this will stay at 30 or 40. And now they're net 90 loss. That's how that ends up working. So you have to learn how to build through whatever ceiling that you're currently working on. So right now, the current ceiling you're probably working on, being at 100 grand is, well, how do I replace some of my time, and where do I replace it at? What am I willing to give up right now, and what am I willing not to give up?
Yeah. And also trying to figure out, like, in what ways to cast my vision to my employees so they're not weed whacking down plants that aren't supposed to be weed whacked down, or
just so I can hydrangeas. What are you doing?
Just so I can go out and do other tasks like aeration or fertilization or overseeding or mulching or hardscaping, and my time's not having to be dealt in with the mowing side of things.
Yeah, just recognizing where your highest and best use is at.
Yeah.
At all times. Tracking your time, being accountable for your time, and recognizing the return on it. It's like, to your point, business is simple. Like, what's my outlay and what's my return? It's all the stupid, annoying details and emotions and everything in the middle that becomes difficult to manage. Just like one of the ways that Aisley started to grow her business a little bit at one point and stop trading so much time for the money was, what are they called? Presets?
Yeah. At one point I was selling, like, basically you can edit your pictures and then like copy the edits and sell the edits to people so other people can just edit like you. I started selling those. I haven't sold them since 2020. Like, I haven't made a new pack. Maybe it was like the beginning of 21, and I still sell them all the time. Like $25 here, $25 there. Like, I think last month I made like $200 on presets, and I haven't made one. I haven't even advertised for them in years.
Is there like a
Aisley hates money.
got a market for it? Right? Is there like a copyright or trade secret or something that goes with that? Like, so people can't just say, "Oh, this is my edit."
I'm sure there is. I was a 18-year-old, maybe 17. I don't know. Didn't have one, so.
Okay.
Not on mine. Don't go buy my presets. And actually, if they're not, you can go resell.
Don't you
them.
rip them off? Yeah.
I'm not advertising them. You whatever.
Good luck finding them.
Yeah. They're deep on my website. I still don't know how people are getting them, but nonetheless, yeah, that I was doing that.
But yeah, that goes further into like when you're looking at your business, you know, instead of restarting somewhere, you go, how can I add an asset to it? So in your line of work, you know, that could be a truck, that could be a person, that could be a mower, that could be a piece of equipment, that could be a number of things. Yeah. Or it could be, how can I have my money work more in more than one place? So like if you have capital that goes into a mower, the example you used earlier was 10 grand, maybe it makes 100, you know? How can the money that's in the mower also make 10 to 100? Like you ask yourself that question. So if it goes into a piece of real estate first and then that's lent to the mower and then the mower makes it, now it's working in two places. What if you had it you know, what if you're creating your own banking system that way? So you start asking yourself, how can the money actually work harder? Because you mentioned, oh, I want to buy a house. Well, what does that look like?
I mean, right now saving up the down payment and eventually like showing the proof of my income and stuff. Yeah. But I think
playing that game.
I want to mention, you said you saved like 30 grand for your down payment.
Yeah.
My down payment was 5%. I put 2 grand down on my house, just so you know.
Okay. Yeah.
You might be overshooting. You could probably get a house now.
I could.
We'll handle that later.
I think
we'll go through the details of real estate later.
I was wanting to avoid PMI and
why?
And lower my monthly payment just because the quicker I get my house paid off, the quicker I get that money back.
Should you want a lower payment or a higher payment?
I would say lower.
Why?
Well, based on, like, I would want a lower term, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, I'd rather go for a 15 than a 30.
Why?
Because the quicker I get the house paid off, the quicker I'm getting that, however much the monthly payment is back per month.
Why do you want to pay it off?
He does this thing where I bring friends over and then he puts them on a chair and says, why? Why? Why?
Well, because then I can take that money and put it into another asset.
Can't you already do that?
I guess you're right. I could.
Hold on.
Oh, wait a second.
I mean, if I went with Aisley's route, I could buy 4 houses right now, or 5 or 6.
See?
Yeah.
That's my point in that. And we can talk about that later. We don't have to hit that right now. But
I'm a noob in real estate. So.
But my point in that is that plays into your business too. Like if you can practice what just happened, your business will get better because of it. Well, if I have 2, how many trucks you got right now?
2.
You got 2 trucks right now. How many people you have?
1.
Okay, so
other guy and myself.
Yeah, so you got. I'm gonna count you. So 2 trucks, 2 people, and if you can ask yourself, why is it only 2?
Well, right now it's because I can only fill 2 trucks with both my guys. But yeah. I would say, thinking at a bigger level, if I had more guys, I would just say, I mean, landscaping's a very overhead expensive business.
Yeah, I believe that.
I mean, I'm sure like your cameras aren't cheap either, Aisley, but
right.
I mean,
no, yours are definitely your lawnmower is definitely more than
I got $100 grand rig driving down the road. It's not cheap.
My entire camera bag is like 15-20 grand. You're definitely a little higher than I am.
Yeah, so your question becomes maybe not even just why is that, but how? How can I cut that in half, or how can I cut the time that truck takes money in half? How can I pay it off twice as fast? How can I make it cash flow twice as fast or twice as much? You start asking yourself questions like that, and it just gets you thinking, as opposed to being locked in to something that somebody said years ago and not even recognizing that you weren't questioning it. You're already very good at it, which I'm impressed by.
Thank you.
So if you start asking yourself questions like that, you'll start to recognize like, oh, this truck that I have right now, these 2 trucks that I have right now, you know, maybe I don't need the singular 60K truck. What if I bought 6 more 10Kers?
That's a good point. I guess you'd have to see what the point of, like, like with
Diminishing-
breakdowns or something.
what
Or
point-
depreciation too.
Yeah. Do I have a point of diminishing return at some point, and how close can I get to it and have it be beneficial?
That's a good word for it, diminishing return.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a very good point, because I've thought about that for snow, because plowing snow is not easy on trucks by any means.
No, it beats the hell out of it.
And
yeah.
so like you can't get something too junky because, well, for one, you want a certain look when you're driving up to a customer's property or a commercial lot or whatever. But number two, I mean, it's got to be able to work, and you can't be having too much downtime. So,
Yep, I agree.
but yeah, I mean, going back to Brian, a big mentor of mine, for example, like he just bought a new truck, and he bought an XL, like a Ford XL truck, and his other two trucks are Lariats, like a little bit more top of the line.
Yeah.
And it's because like that 10, 20 grand that he's saving, like he can then go and spend it on something else. So he's realized too that you don't need to buy one $60,000 truck. You can go buy multiple cheaper trucks.
Yeah, it's called conservation of capital. That's why when you were like, well, I want to pay off the house. Why? Like the capital is what like if you get a loan today, it's cheaper to pay for it tomorrow because of the national debt, because of inflation. So it's kind of interesting to me. I see a lot of people, they'll work really hard to pay off their house. They pay off their house, and then they'll go get a loan on the house to renovate the house. It's like, well, why didn't you just renovate it while you were going?
Yeah.
Like, there's actually no difference here. It would be cheaper to leave your current loan in place and just renovate your house and raise the value of it just through sweat equity than it is to actually pay it off and then go get another loan because it's more expensive in the long run. I digress. My thinking of like, it's just interesting to have the two of you sitting next to each other and seeing like how similar the models are, but just
Almost
totally
scary similar.
but just totally,
Yeah, it's actually like everything you say. I'm like, oh, I've experienced that. Oh, yeah.
yeah,
I'm
but
like-
just
And
totally
we're not
different
even the same
industries.
profession. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
completely different industries, but you're starting to recognize like, oh, the model, the principles are the same. That's why. So people will attack me at times because they're like, oh, he didn't act like he said. It took a lot of time to say nothing because they are looking for a secret. They are looking for a 2 + 2 = 4, and that's not how life or business works. It works in principles. So if you can understand the principles of operating something well in your landscaping business, you would very well be able to branch out. It's called radius. Have you ever heard of radius?
Yeah.
Reaching across different industries, uncovering solutions.
Yeah.
So if you have a rate, like you can maximize. So an easy example of yours is like, well, if I do their mowing, I can do their snow.
Yeah.
Well, what else would that client potentially want? You can turn a $100 client into a $700 client that way if you understand the principles of understanding what people actually want.
That's a very good point. A lot of people do full service, like they'll only take on full service customers. Like they need to do their mulch, their spring and fall cleanups, their mowing, their snow. And if the customer doesn't want all that, they won't take them on.
Yeah.
And when you start looking at that and your route density too, like making sure all your houses are close together, and like there's a lot of criteria. Like I see a lot of people getting into the industry and they'll take anything like they can get. And I guess when you're starting, you have to in a sense.
Yeah.
But like you see these bigger companies being so strict with the people they take on, and it's for a reason. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people just don't understand that.
So I think it's interesting because everything that you just said applies to your business.
yeah, I would agree because we talk about all the time how like niching down and stuff like that.
And also to his point of like, well, you want your client, like your route density is the way you called it, the way that you worded it. What's your route density for your photography, right? Like you're mostly Northeast Ohio. Like, yeah, you go outside of it, but if you think about your density for your, like, you bring everybody to one spot.
I had somebody come to me yesterday morning for a sunrise photo shoot. She skipped school. She was a senior from Pittsburgh. She came to Akron, Ohio to get her senior photos done here
Must be doing
at
a good
7
job.
a.m. She woke up at 3 a.m. and drove 2 hours.
Sick.
Yeah.
That's
That's
awesome.
and that's a testament to the point of that.
Yeah.
Because that maximizes how profitable that you can be.
Yeah. Yeah. She like bent to my radius.
Well, that's now you're getting into setting standards,
Yeah.
right? And setting standards and boundaries, and
Yeah.
that's just another one of those mini details in between your point earlier, outlay, return. That's the simplicity of it. So, well, first of all, What do you got? I don't want to.
You've covered everything. Everything I keep thinking of
You're
saying,
thinking?
you've covered. You covered.
Okay.
Yeah, like the college, everything.
College.
I'm just here to
Yeah.
look.
What
pretty now.
what is your degree in?
Business administration, but it's a specialization in marketing.
Yeah.
I actually just changed it because I was going for student counseling, and I'm like, wow, that's the biggest dead end career that I could have picked. But I took the marketing program in high school, so I had like a whole semester worth of credits coming in. So I'm like, well, that'll get me done with college. I was looking what'll get me done the quickest. So I'm like, oh, that'll
Yeah.
take off a semester.
That's
so.
fair. I majored in eligibility. That's
I majored
cool.
in communications, which is actually the most laughable degree, so that I could not go to school and travel. So I spent 3 weeks in South America, and like a whole month total last year just gone. And I made my degree communications, and I'm never gonna be able to use it, but I have it.
I'll be communicating with you over Zoom.
Yeah.
Since I won't be here. Yeah. Yeah, I majored in eligibility. Business administration. What businesses do your teachers own?
None. Some of them have like, my one had a CPA, like he's a CPA and he has his own firm. But it's,
You could probably learn something from that guy then.
yeah. But I think he's a professor for a reason. I don't think his firm's doing that well. So I think he needs, based on what I've kind of observed from him,
Yeah.
I think he's kind of going down that route. But
Understood. You can still learn something from that too,
Yeah.
though. Yeah.
And I would say like the biggest thing I've learned this year is building a team. I hired a CPA. I hired my first employee. I hired someone to do my bookkeeping. And it took so much time off my plate, and I'm just able to get stuff done quicker. But now I'm back to your point too about like delegating, like where I can delegate my time away. It's mainly in the field now. But I've found other like invoicing and billing out. I still have to do that stuff and estimates, but I've learned now that I have to build a team.
Little $100 a month bookkeeper would go a long way.
Yeah. Saves me a lot of time.
Yeah. Man, you're doing a great job. I tip my cap to you.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you. It's cool to see someone that young adopt a growth mindset, be aware of it. I think I might be more impressed by the awareness of it. That's something you and I talk about quite a bit.
Yeah, just the awareness, like, because the whole mission of here is to create an awareness in people, educate people. And so the awareness is the first part. If nobody knows that like something that the way they're thinking like is a problem or how to fix it, like, so the fact that you're aware of it is really impressive, especially for like your age.
Well, thank you.
Our age.
Yeah.
We're usually very good at outraging people through awareness.
Like I guess I understand people get angry, like we just talked about in like the comments and stuff, but as long as the anger people are still getting the same message, it's still entering their subconscious, whether they want it to or not, whether they're angry about it or not, their reaction doesn't matter. They're still getting the information.
I talked about this in my small group the other day for church, but it kind of correlates between faith and business. But like, you don't want to like hound on someone like, this is why you should do this, like to make money or whatnot, or like this is the systems. Same thing with faith. This is why you should believe. No, you want to guide them through thinking, through the process of understanding and thinking. So then they know how, and they actually understand, because no one's going to ever understand if they don't understand the process and the thinking behind
the
it.
why.
Yeah, the why.
Yeah, I call that leading out. Like, you want to lead out well. You want to practice well and you want to lead out well. You don't change someone's mind through words. They have to experience a difference.
Yeah. And that's like when you were asking me those why questions, like I felt pushed back in the couch here, but I love that. I love those questions. Like, because it makes me think.
This couch goes deeper than I thought.
Everyone thinks Todd's always thinking really hard. This is a joke, but everyone thinks Todd's really, really thinking hard. He just says why over and over again.
Yeah.
And just pushes you to So if you ever want if you ever want to appear really smart, why?
The easiest
Why?
question.
Yeah, it's amazing how you can get a wire too deep and then not recognize why you're actually doing something or what it actually is.
Yeah.
And like, if you lose your vision in like one or two whys, you know that you have to get clearer on something.
Or maybe that vision's not right, and you've developed a mindset enough that you're like, okay, something needs to change here. Because I've realized I've done things and that I had a vision for in the past. And I'm like, okay, this isn't the vision anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, you graduated out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like college.
Like TikTok.
Yeah.
Like TikTok.
Like those 127,000 followers I have. I graduated from them. I love you guys. If you're watching this, I haven't posted a TikTok in like 3 months.
I think I'm one of those.
Yeah, you are. I followed myself on the account.
And thank you.
That's funny you say that about college though, because I had the opportunity to talk to Gary Dadato. He used to own JW Dadato. It's a massive electric company.
Okay, that doesn't suck.
No.
By the way, anytime anything goes right,
We say
it
that
falls
doesn't
under
suck.
the categorization of that doesn't suck. So if you did something right, that doesn't suck.
That doesn't suck.
Yeah, that doesn't suck.
But we were at his lake house and sitting around the fire, and he was letting me pick his mind, kind of, and he started to pick my mind. He's like, well, why are you in college? And I was like, I kind of explained the same thing to you that I did to you. And he was like, well, he goes, I agree with your points, but he goes, in my circumstance, he goes, I don't have a college degree. And he goes, I feel lesser when I'm on these board meetings, like with townships, when they call me in, or different companies, or just for him to be a representative. He goes, I just don't feel like, since I don't have a piece of paper to put to it. And
that's interesting.
I'm thinking like, man, you ran a multi-million-dollar business. You're obviously
way
doing
more
something right.
difficult. Yeah, exactly.
But I was thinking like, he was like, yeah, even if it was like an associate's degree or something, just something to put there. I'm like, that it didn't quite make sense to me when he said that. But
well, it's something that's just been so well adopted. Like, so many people go to college now. It's now the norm. Like, you never get ahead if you're only part of the norm.
That's a really good point.
You can't. I don't know if I can even correlate this well. One of the greatest trainings I've ever been through, there's a video, and it's a man, I can't remember who gives this speech, but there's a video. I'll have to find it sometime, and I'll show it to you. But it's all about awareness, okay? And there's a fish swimming the other way. Okay, so you see like a school of fish. They're always swimming one direction. There's another fish swimming the other direction, downstream, or would it be upstream?
Upstream.
Yeah, it would be upstream. Yeah, against the stream,
the current.
Against the current. Yeah, and he says something to the two fish that are swimming by with the current, and he says, something along the lines of, hey, water's warm, or hey, watch out for the water that direction. And he swims past him, and the fish swimming upstream just swims upstream against current. And the other two, one looks at the other fish and goes, "The hell is water?" And it's just so eye-opening to me. Like, that one always hit me, that if you're part of the norm and you're not asking questions and you're not aware of what you're actually doing, you will just get caught in that stream. You'll get caught in that current. And then the other one going the other direction. Like, what do they know that I don't? So that one always hits me. It's just that I'm just envisioning the other fish looking at each other going, what the hell is water? Because there's a lack of awareness. So the number one thing that I always want to do is be aware, which can also torment you sometimes, as we've discussed, because you see everything happening around you going like, everybody else doesn't see this going on right now.
You see like zero accountability around you, and you're like,
oh,
nobody else knows what's going on or why things are happening to them.
Everybody else finds this okay right now. $34 trillion in debt. Like,
yeah.
It just so. To your point on that, like, him feeling that way is because he's always been the fish that's going against the current. And everybody else's validation comes from the piece of paper, which, again, I admittedly have. But people feel less than, because that's such a norm now, that you are an outlier if you don't have one.
Outlier could be a good thing, though. So
that is not how general society feels, though.
Yeah.
You don't want to be outlier. Outlier is dangerous.
I'm thinking in the sense like
outlier is outcast. Like, if you and like when we were tribes, if you were outcast, you died. You're dead. That was a death sentence.
I'm thinking in terms that it could arise questions of, well, why don't you have a degree? Oh, I run a however many $1 million year business, and then it's like, oh, okay.
That's you being optimistic and growth minded, though.
Not everybody's gonna ask that question. They're gonna look at you and be like,
People aren't going to ask that question. They're going to go, "Yeah, a degree. What the hell's he here for?"
someone walks up to you on the street and asks you if you have a college degree. You say no. They're just gonna be like, oh, ooh.
Yeah.
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 What's wrong with you? Why did that happen? Yeah. So
That's like when people ask you what you do.
What do you tell
Yeah.
people that you do?
Okay, so I have an aunt. She always forgets like what he does. She's always like, "What do you do?" And at family gatherings, every time he comes up with something different.
yeah.
So like last time he was like a Crayola.
I was a Crayola crayon. Yeah, I was the crayon quality control for the color purple.
He took his son to preschool. Like, how much was that? It was expensive, like daycare.
Yeah.
And walked in after drove the Audi in. The Audi R8 drives it in, and they ask what he does, and he tells them he's a drug dealer.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I like to mix it up. Yeah, no, I never. I don't usually give people a serious answer. But actually, my favorite answer though, my actual honest favorite answer is that I'm an educator.
Oh, yeah.
Some people are like, "Oh, you're a teacher," but like if I'm in the car or like anything else, they're like, "Well, teachers don't make that." That's because they go right down to like, well, what is a teacher? A teacher's in a classroom.
Like
Well,
high
you're a
school
steward
English.
of growth.
So
You want to grow.
Yeah. So like, but most people hear teacher and they go, whoop, in the box, in that box. But I never said a single time while I'm in a classroom or I'm in a specific school. Or if I say I'm in real estate, oh, you're a realtor. I'm not. I was licensed at one point for an hour and a half and couldn't pay for the MLS because I was too broke. So I had to get my license back. It's that's going back to that conformity that you were talking about. Like that's why he feels like that's why he feels less than.
Yeah, like Nolan's neighbor, Howard, he's like, I'm not sure if he's like partial owners or full owner of Hartville, like the HRM Enterprise, like Hartville Hardware Marketplace, and that stuff. And he's very well off as well. And he said he's like, oh, I mop the floors. Like that's very well true. Like he may go get a broom and broom up the floors of the hardware, but
yeah,
what people don't realize is that he also owns the thing. Like,
yeah, exactly.
But he's very humble in that regards.
Yep.
Which I admire.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, it ends up being a lesson in awareness at the end of the day. But just be the fish that's swimming upstream.
Yeah.
That's telling the other ones about the water. And then let the other two go, the hell is water? I gotta find that
and
video.
then the
and
fish
show it
can
to
whip
you.
out their phones and Google what's water.
Yeah, I gotta show you that video. It's really
Is water
good.
wet?
Yeah, it's water wet.
No.
It's just in.
No,
Water's
please.
wet. Yeah. Well, dude, thanks for coming on with us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's exciting to be able to share other people's stories, especially you guys, like both your guys' age, just been all three of you really. Because Nolan's 11 and it works with the
baby.
NFL and MLB. Like, Nolan, I don't know if you know this actually. My degree is in sport and business management. And all I wanted to do was work with the MLB, and I couldn't get a job at the ticket counter, tearing the ticket off and handing it back to somebody. I don't know. No, I got declined for that
Maybe
job.
nowadays.
I got turned down for that job.
Yeah, you got
no
turned
joke.
away.
I really
Wow.
did.
I will say, I loved having somebody else my age on here, but I am a teeny bit salty because my title and thumbnail for my episode was Six Figures at 20.
Oh, you get six figures at 19 now.
You one up to me,
Hey!
not even 5 episodes later.
I got to beat Aisley on buying the house too.
Yeah, baby.
No.
That's a whole competition now for everybody. Everybody's trying to buy a house.
You
for
got
free
you
now.
turned 20.
I'm basically 20. I mean, come on now. What if my parents lied to me? What if I was?
If you want to laugh, the first ever personal house that I actually bought is this one, because she
Really?
bought the other one.
Wow.
Dee bought the other one. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we used her VA loan. Now we get into mortgage details, but well, I mean, I bought a whole mess of smaller houses, investment properties first. I guess that should count. I didn't really think of it. Yeah, first personal house was this on my own,
Yeah.
or our own.
All right. You know what we have to do.
Hey,
It's
we
been
did
real.
it. No,
you
it's,
have to do it.
No, it was awesome having you, man. I appreciate it. I think how far away are you from the 6-figure mark? Or well, if you're at 6 figures now, I'm just going to assume that means 100, not 900. If it means 900, we need to go back.
No, I'm just over 100.
So you want to double. When you double, you got to come back. We got to talk about it.
Yeah, and I mean, I can show you pictures of here off air, but of my plan for next year. But
Yeah.
I would like to hit 250.
Yeah.
The way it's trending, it's looking closer to like 215, 220. Based on what I've ran and like what I can do with.
Imagine if you had a little bit of that profit work for you, and then it created that 35 for you.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
I'll have to sit down and think of how I can make it work for me.
You should do that. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Not only how can I make the money? How can I make the money go to work for me? If I can make 10 grand a month, how can I make that 10 grand a month eventually make its own 10 grand a month? Because money is a great duplicator, but it is a terrible leader. So make sure that you're leading it.
I've heard people say like your second million is always easier to make than your
Oh,
first.
dude. Like,
and that
it's easier to make your
approves
next
that.
10 million than it is your first million. No joke. Because the first million's going to work too. Because you don't get to a million without, figuring
like
out something that
compound
working
and-
too. Yeah. Typically. Yeah. Yeah. No, your first million's a struggle. But the next
A grind.
no joke, the next 10, because you understand and have evidence that you made that first million, that you have a belief and an understanding of how to make the next 10. That's why. The first million, you're just doing everything that you can to make something work, because you just don't know what works yet.
I've been sitting here patiently waiting to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Can I say goodbye now?
Thank you. Goodbye. You can say goodbye. Yeah.
have a nice day.
Okay.